Welcome to the Desmo Works channel. This is race prep part 1. Going to be building a Ducati 748 race engine. The donor is a X748E engine, which has had a case failure. So don't know the overall condition of the engine till I get it apart. Engine's a old 2-phase engine, so I'm hoping to use the vast majority of the components to transfer across into a good set of cases, then put some high compression 748 SP pistons in. Just change over a lot of the components for lighter components so it spins up a bit freer. Some SP cams as well, so trying to get somewhere around about sort of 95 to 100 brake horsepower on a pretty stock engine to keep it reliable. Okay, interesting piece here now. So need to get the alternator generator cover off. Don't need to remove the water pump cover because the water pump drive is just a push fit within there, so it's not an issue. Obviously you've got to overcome the magnetic stiction of the rotor and the stator sticking together, so use a little tool that will bolt into here. This main bolt will then act against the end of the crankshaft to allow me to pull the generator cover off. What I need to do then is, with the trusty help of a 19mm ring, just start turning this in, and what it will do is gradually, there you go, start to break the generator cover away, and what you'll see is you just start to get a gap. Okay, that's the generator cover off, and this is the inside of the left hand side of the 2-phase engine. Is the windings sitting there, okay, bolted to the outer case, and then you've got the 2-phase rotor, which is the magnetic piece. You've got the starter input cog, and this is the starter wheel, intermediate wheel, which then drives onto the starter ring just here. Okay, this here is the flywheel, and interestingly, on a 2-phase bike you can completely do away with this with no impact at all. Intermediate timing gear wheel, and this piece here is the wheel that drives the water pump on this connection here. Okay, and that just to show you, that's the back of the water pump there. So that piece there is the water pump, which rotates off this element here, and then it goes through to drive your timing belts for the heads. And here is your gear selector, which goes onto the gear selecting drum, and you'll see that in a bit more detail when we get the engine apart. Next stage for me is I'm going to take the heads off. I'll loosen off here, 12mm. This is, so you've got, let's just explain this. This is the intermediate shaft coming out of the engine, which was the intermediate timing gear that I talked about. Drives both the horizontal belt, vertical belt, Okay, and you'll notice that the gearing is the same, so the teeth position on the pulley wheels is the same, and it drives inlet shaft, exhaust camshaft, mobile tensioner, back, and then same up on the vertical cylinder. You've got belt that drives the stationary, exhaust, inlet, then we've got the adjustable tensioner, back. So I'm going to loosen this one off here, this one off here, pop the belts off. These are rubbish, they'll go straight into the bin, and then it'll be on to removing the head. Okay, I need to now get this cover off. So what you'll see is the cover is held in place with the head and the barrel. Head because it's got the stationary or steady or fixed pulley wheel, which is a cap bolt that goes there, and then you've got the movable or mobile or adjustable tensioner pulley wheel, has a double-ended stud, and then the barrel has just got like a little 6mm nut that I need to take off. Exactly the same arrangement on the vertical head. So effectively all that I need to do to get the heads off is I've got 1, 2 nuts and 3, 4. Effectively undo those, give the head a gentle tap with a soft mallet, and then just pull the head off. And likewise on the vertical we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we just use this tool, and what it does, sits in there, put a breaker bar on and crack that. So let's get on with that. Okay, both heads are off. They didn't split at the head gasket seal, so I've just taken them off in their entirety, which is not a problem. What you see left there is the pistons. So what I need to do now is just get the pistons off. So you can see there's a small circlip that sits in there, the piston circlip. That'll enable me to take out the gudgeon pin that sits up there and remove this piston. Got 2 of them to do, and then we'll be on to splitting the cases, or taking off all the parts so we can split the cases. Right, what we need to do is get this nut off here. It's about 176 Newton meters if I remember rightly. No tab washer or anything on this side, so I get that off. I can then hopefully pull this off. There's a special tool to hold this with. So that tool fits over there. What it is, you can see inside there, these grooves that are cut in the head. That goes onto the rotor, and then I get a big ratchet gun and a special sized socket. Just trying to remember what one it is. That one there. So ratchet gun, zip that off quite quickly, and then we're good to pull all those bits and pieces off on this side of the engine. Now removed the flywheel, the starter ring, the rotor, bits you've got to be careful of. There's a key just here, see that there, key, drop that in there, and there was a key just in here as well, which is this long one here. So to make sure you don't lose those. What I need to do now is take the start motor off. So the easiest way to do that is I'll take the intermediate drive off, which is just held on by this circlip, and that will just pull off, and then I've got a bolt in there, bolt here, and a bolt externally, and then the start motor will drop away. Then need to take the intermediate shaft gear wheel off, which is just a little lock washer there, and then drive that off, which I think off the top of my head is 22mm nut, and then we'll pop that off. And then I'll just remove one bolt here, one bolt there, and can take the gear selector arm off. Get that gear wheel sprocket off of there, sorry. And then that will be all of this side is undone, ready to pull the cases apart. What I've got to do is remove the oil pump first. Watch for this seal as well, because when you replace the cover, you need to make sure that's in place. I'll be using a new one, but so to get the oil pump off, there's 3 bolts. We've got one here, one here, and one here. Also need to take this lock washer off, so bend the tab down, drill that off, and then we should be good to take that wheel off. What we got to do now is get this primary wheel off. It just pulls off, but what it's got there is the clutch basket spacer, which is a little bit stiff. I just need to get that off. And once I've got that off, just pull that off, and then I'll show you the tool that we need to use to get this primary drive gear off. Got a special tool, which is the copy of the Ducati official tool, and what that does is that will slip on there, and then we'll gradually pull that out, and then just make sure that it's definitely against the end of the crank. Okay, and what you got to do is just apply a bit of pressure here and just gently tap it, and hopefully that is just on there with a slight taper, so if it doesn't come, you shouldn't keep forcing it because you can break this tool. So just turn that and see how we get on. We are just about ready to strip the cases apart, so I'll leave this here for now, because I'm going to strip that off slightly later, because I don't really need the intermediate shaft. I'm going to leave the indent arm for the selector drum, because it will just, as you pop, it'll just pop up, and then I could take that off at a later date. It's only a little Allen bolt that goes in there. So what we have to do is, there's nothing now on the older engines to do on this side. This is all completed, so we'll spin the engine. So it's just set up so that I keep the shafts clear, and you can just see, because the filter's still on there, it just drains off a little bit. You can take it off beforehand, but you know, it's got such a marginal amount of oil. So what do we need to undo? So we've got some external bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then right round on the back side, 9. Okay, they have to come off. And then internally we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that have to come off. Alright, so we'll crack all of these, make sure they're nice and loose, and then zing them all out, and then try and break the case. Okay, so that's the 748E engine stripped down, and I think on the bench here is pretty much all the stuff I want to keep and use as a basis for a rebuild. You know, cases US, so I'll strip a couple of little odds and sods off of there that are worth keeping, but nothing that really would benefit from you guys seeing it. So box of all the external hardware and bits and pieces, and then everything else is just laid out so that I can clean it. So what we've got down here is some of the water hoses, probably be replaced, cam belt covers, might do something a bit special with those, backing plates for the cam belts, generator cover with the inspection stroke removal port off, clutch cover. Then we've got our 2 sets of heads. So we've got the horizontal one, I know that because it had a little bit of oil in it, the vertical one, all of our engine bolts, detent spring, a few of the keys, rotor, intermediate start wheel, intermediate gear wheel, crankshaft 2-phase with 2 coil rods. I strip them down, check them, oil pump, primary gear wheel, primary drive, and they're a 2-to-1 ratio on here. I forget the exact numbers, I'll have to look that up and tell you that, but I might make a change to that. Starter wheel, flywheel, start motor, gear selector mechanism, selector drum, selector forks, and they're holding pieces, oil pressure relief valve, might not need that, and gear wheels. So that's the strip down completed. Managed to do that in just shy of 2 hours. Obviously you're looking at a much condensed video of that as some of the highlights. Hope you enjoyed it. Click subscribe below, please. The rebuild will be coming soon, and we'll do some natty little stuff. I'll show you how to change the cams, shim them, time them back in. We'll make some modifications to bits and pieces in the engine just to shed some of this rotating weight that we've got here, and put ourselves together a race engine. As I said, thank you for watching. Click like if you felt it was a useful video. Welcome any comments below, and please subscribe for some future Ducati orientated videos.